Picture this. You and your friend just bombed an exam you both studied hard for. You're absolutely devastated, replaying every mistake in your head. But your friend? They've already moved on, laughing about something on their phone. What's going on here? Why can't you just shake it off like they can? Today, we're diving deep into the science of emotional regulation, whether we can actually control our emotions, and more importantly, whether we even should. Let's start with the fundamental question. Can you actually control your emotions? The answer might surprise you. It's a definitive yes. But here's where it gets interesting. Just because you can control your emotions doesn't mean you always should. And that's what makes this topic so fascinating. We're constantly bombarded with mixed messages about emotions. Social media tells us to stay positive and choose happiness. Mental health advocates tell us to feel our feelings and that it's okay not to be okay. So which is it? Well, as with most things in psychology, the answer is more nuanced than a simple yes or no. To understand how we can regulate our emotions, we need to understand how emotions are formed in the first place. Psychologists use something called the process model to map out exactly how our emotions work. Think of it as a roadmap for your feelings. Step 1. The situation. First, we enter a situation, and this can be real or imagined. Maybe you walk into a party, or maybe you're just thinking about an upcoming presentation. Step 2. Attention. That situation draws our attention to specific things. At the party, you might notice your ex across the room. Before the presentation, you might focus on all the ways it could go wrong. Step 3. Appraisal. Then comes the crucial part, appraisal. This is where we evaluate the situation and decide whether it helps or hinders our goals. You think, my ex being here ruins my night, or this presentation could make or break my career. Step 4. Emotional response. Finally, this appraisal triggers an emotional response, changes in how we feel, think, and behave. Your heart races, your palms sweat, you feel anxiety or anger or sadness. Here's the key insight. At every step of this process, you have the opportunity to intervene and change the outcome. Let's make this practical. Imagine you've been invited to a party, and you just found out your least favorite ex will be there with their new partner. Fun, right? Let's walk through exactly what you can do at each stage of the emotional process. Strategy 1. Situation selection. The first and most obvious strategy is avoiding the situation altogether. Simply don't go to the party. This is situation selection. You're choosing which situations to enter or avoid based on the emotions they're likely to trigger. Now, you can't always do this. You can't skip your job interview because you're nervous. But when you can choose, it's a perfectly valid strategy. There's no prize for making yourself unnecessarily uncomfortable. Strategy 2. Situation modification. Okay, so you decided to go to the party. Strategy number 2 is situation modification. You're there, but you can change the situation itself. Maybe you strategically position yourself on the opposite side of the room from your ex. You stay with your close friends. You leave before you know they're likely to arrive. You're not avoiding the party entirely, but you're engineering the situation to protect your emotional well-being. Think about this in other contexts. If studying in your room makes you anxious, you modify the situation by going to a coffee shop. If certain topics with your family cause arguments, you steer conversations in different directions. Strategy 3. Attentional deployment. Now let's say you're at the party, and despite your best efforts, your ex and their partner are nearby. This is where strategy 3 comes in, attentional deployment, or shifting your attention. You dive into a board game with your friends. You get really interested in the music and start dancing. You strike up a fascinating conversation with someone new. You're not changing the situation. Your ex is still there, but you're controlling what you focus on. This is incredibly powerful. Have you ever been so absorbed in something that you didn't notice you were hungry or tired? That's attentional deployment in action. The key is actively directing your attention rather than letting it drift to whatever's most emotionally charged. Strategy 4. Cognitive change, reappraisal. Here's where it gets really interesting. Strategy 4 is cognitive change, also called reappraisal. This is about changing how you think about the situation. You look over at your ex with their new partner, and instead of thinking, they've moved on, and I'm still stuck, you reframe it. Actually, I don't care who they date. That relationship ended for good reasons. I'm here with MY friends having MY own experience. Or with our exam example from the beginning. Instead of, I'm a failure, you reappraise. This is one exam. It shows me where I need to focus my studying. This is information, not a verdict on my worth. Reappraisal is powerful because you're changing the meaning of the event, which changes the emotion it generates. You're not denying reality. You're viewing it from a different, often more helpful, angle. This takes practice, but research shows it's one of the most effective long-term strategies for emotional regulation. Strategy 5. Response modulation. Finally, Strategy 5. Response modulation. This is managing your emotional response after it's already happened. Your ex-drama triggered anxiety or anger, and now you're dealing with those feelings directly. But here's where we need to be careful. Response modulation is the trickiest strategy because there are so many ways to do it wrong. The unhealthy approaches: suppression, forcing a smile while screaming inside; substance use, I need a drink to deal with this; avoidance, endless scrolling or binge-watching to numb out; venting without purpose, just spinning in the same angry thoughts. Research shows these approaches generally lead to more negative feelings and health problems in the long term. Suppression especially. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes constant energy and eventually, it's going to pop up somewhere. The healthy approaches: physical activity, going for a walk or run; breathing exercises, slow, deep breaths that activate your parasympathetic nervous system; talking it through, processing with someone in your support system; creative expression, journaling, art, music; mindfulness, observing your emotions without judgment. These strategies don't deny or suppress the emotion. They help you process and move through it. Here's the key insight: the earlier in the process you intervene, generally the easier and more effective it is. Situation selection is easier than response modulation. Prevention is easier than cure. So now we can control our emotions. Does that mean we should use these strategies to maintain a good mood all the time? Let me ask you something. What makes a mood good in the first place? Here's a truth that might sound strange. No emotion is inherently good or bad. They're either helpful or unhelpful, depending on the context. Imagine your friend tells you their parent just died. Is it good to feel happy in that moment? Of course not. Sadness is the appropriate, helpful emotion. It helps you empathize, connect, and support them. You're giving a best man speech at your brother's wedding. One of your family members just said something that irritated you. Is it good to express that anger right now? No. Putting on a smile and saving that conversation for later is absolutely the right move. Context matters. And here's what the research shows. People who are obsessed with being happy all the time actually experience more negative emotions. They feel guilt about being upset, frustration that they're feeling frustrated, disappointment that they're not happier. It's like trying to force yourself to fall asleep. The effort itself prevents what you're trying to achieve. So what's the answer? How should we actually approach our emotions? The goal isn't constant happiness. The goal is emotional flexibility, the ability to 1. Notice what you're feeling. 2. Reflect on where it's coming from. 3. Decide whether it's helpful in this context. 4. Choose an appropriate strategy if you need to regulate. Sometimes that means accepting and expressing sadness. Sometimes it means reappraising your thoughts. Sometimes it means removing yourself from a situation. Sometimes it means pushing through discomfort for a goal that matters. Let's go back to our exam scenario. You failed the test. Should you regulate that disappointment? It depends on what you need. If the disappointment is motivating you to study harder, maybe it's useful. If it's spiraling into self-hatred and paralysis, you probably need to reappraise. If you need to focus on something else right now, attentional deployment might help. If you just need to feel it for a bit, that's okay too. The key is choice and awareness. So can you control your emotions? Absolutely. You have 5 powerful strategies at your disposal. Should you always try to be happy? No. You should try to be emotionally flexible, experiencing the right emotions at the right time for the right reasons. Remember, emotions aren't the enemy. They're information. And with practice, you can learn to work with them rather than being controlled by them. If this video helped you understand your emotions better, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more psychology content. And let me know in the comments, which emotional regulation strategy do you use most often? Thanks for watching, and remember, it's not about being happy all the time. It's about being human, with all the complexity that comes with it.